Hi, it's Christina Merkley, and I am here with another one of the recorded visual sessions. Uh, Brave and incredible people seem to find their way to me, so I'm assuming I have another one in front of me, which is Lee. Thank you so much for coming. And somebody you know has done one of these, so that's how you found out and you observed that one. So that's good news. That's it was of use enough to attract you to come in and do whatever will unfold here for you. Isn't that
Yeah,
awesome? Yeah.
great. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Usually just kind of begin. Just generally, there may be something that's up for you that you're thinking, wow, having a session held for me uh, would be of use. So you might have it very defined, or you might have it loosely defined. All okay. Just kind of let me know a little bit and we'll find our way. It may be the process that you've seen, which is self-inquiry. It may be something else that matches what you're bringing to the table. So,
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think well, uh, there's just been things that have been circulating in my brain that feel pretty big existentially, as well as just like navigating, looking at my life currently right now and the last few years. So, in some ways, yeah, trying to make sense. And I'm intrigued to see what visually how my brain works and what I'm like exploring and just to see what kind of insight comes out of that. So,
existential.
yeah.
I can already feel some resonance. Yay. I operate a lot on that level. So welcome, welcome.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, it probably seems like self-inquiry is a place to start anyway.
Yeah.
Some other things might pop out of that. We
hmm
might actually go grab some maps if it does, but yeah, I think let's just move right in. In fact, we're going to
Okay.
meet existential and other things in my life, right? It's already kind of shown itself.
hmm
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to screen share
Okay.
and bring up my drawing program. Oh, I just have to take something off of my screen before I share it. It's been a busy day, so I had a nice, delicious map sitting there, and I just want to preserve the privacy of that one.
Sure.
Okay,
No problem.
yeah. Okay, so it looks like it's coming up kind of like a blank digital sheet of paper. And what are my digital drawing tools? I'm just going to get this ready. And I usually start with a bubble because usually something has been said that has quite a few components. And so you did give me a little check-in here very succinctly with several components, right? So I don't even have to necessarily write out all those components. We're just welcoming them, right? So,
hmm
hey, all those things you just opened up with, you are welcome here. And existential, see if I can spell that. I think so. And any time if I spell anything or do something that doesn't land, right, let me know. And you can also help me to, it's your
Yeah.
record. So you can help me,
Sure.
create the record. And then I think you also said something like you have other important things in your life
hmm
that are up. So we're just, oh, hello, that too. Bingo, it's already right here. And we just kind of sit with them for a second. So, hello, existential, and hello, other things in my life, and hello, willingness to jump in here and explore and see what emerges, hopefully be of service. All that is welcome. Also, for me, existential has like a weight or something to it, right? It's significant. So
hmm
I'll often draw like different circles or stuff around it if there's something that really
Yeah.
stands out or has weight. Existential, in my opinion, does.
Yeah, for sure.
We can feel
Um,
it. 'Cause, 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 Nothing. Your eyes might stare at it, or just us, auditory and talking to it. I'm a feeler, so I really feel things. So, wow, hello, as existential kind of settles in here a little more. And you primarily, but also me along for the ride, we just kind of come up to it, bring our presence to it.
Hmm.
I'm already feeling bowing because that's my shorthand. There can be another way to do it too, but the shorthand of just like, wow, respect to existential. Wow, existential's in the room. You are welcome here, existential. Oh my goodness, what an honor. And also, I'm kind of getting from the other things in my life. Oops, we don't want to shortchange you because those are important too, right? And there's kind of maybe the existential is connected into that. Some sort of overlap or connection because they came out together. So hello, whatever relationship between these is there too. My own, I noticed some shoulders or something coming down in me, kind of relaxing a little bit. So anything you can report on your side, anything you're noticing as we're just drawing this out and welcoming it and bringing our presence to it.
The concentric circles feel pretty meaningful for me.
Okay.
Yeah. The how I yeah, how my brain works, how I think about life, what I think about myself is kind of in concentric circles, and they're all
Okay.
connected, and they all come from, you know, some sense of like my core source of trying to get a sense of who I am and what I want.
Mm.
And so I always see anything's all parts of me is all connected, interconnected in some ways. And so sometimes that makes it very uh, there's some depth, but then also sometimes it gets really overwhelming or a lot, like as you said, weight. There's a lot to bear,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's really hard to parse out like one thing that I could tend to or change or want for myself because I see the interconnections of everything.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. To the clarity that's emerging. And there's this kind of, you know, clarity or whatever to it, a yes and to it. There's the depth and everything, but the depth as it keeps going can kick into overwhelm. And it's lots to, I'm pretty sure I spell bear that way in this context.
Hmm.
Um, my head was going to BARE too, because there's like a bearing, burden and bearing and
Hmm.
all those layers in here. So we're just like, wow, hello, the yes and of this. And also probably I'm feeling some sort of compassion or like awe to the lots to bear, right? The to burdens and carrying and stuff, can feel it on my own shoulders, which of course is never particularly pleasant. So just person to person, like, sorry that it gets to that level of it's a lot to bear,
Hmm.
a lot on your shoulders or a lot carrying. We just really take our time with that, right? Just that there's a vulnerability in there, or weariness or something.
Probably the where my mind goes to is there's often a tension of responsibility to myself versus responsibility to others that
Yeah.
are in my relational realm, and that tension, yeah, is what connects me to the what's a lot to bear.
Yeah. And it's thank you, because as we're meeting consciousness through the form of you, it's giving us the next layer of it, the even more clarity, even more distinction. So now the pull self and others and responsibility is showing itself, and how much that's connected to the bearing. So just connect them. You're right. Makes sense. Also, I just got the cue. We also want to, mind is here because it has to be able to observe all this stuff and then communicate it so succinctly. So a big bow of welcoming and acknowledgement to the incredible mind and intellect. And that always has heart, right? It's always in service to us. And I do a lot of parts work, maybe you do too, but it's a protector for all of us. So good job to the mind, as it's also along for the ride here with this reveal of what's coming here. And you're right. We don't like it. I'm just going to also, the lots to bear, it feels it needs more do here. And I'm even going for red to pop that out. There's lots to bear.
Mm-hmm.
And just to the bearing, the load. And my guess is we might also be working with history. I can relate to this one. I'm an eldest child and have a lot of responsibility stuff. And the profession I'm in, that's the way it often plays out for older kids, or kids who shoulder a lot of responsibility. I have a lot of big girl programming. So just to responsibility, obviously not everybody assumes responsibility, right? So to the historical you, right, the little you, there's history here. It's personal history. There might also be ancestral stuff in here. It also could be, kind of some working at the world level too, because we're all impacted by world. So it could be multiple levels here, not just your own personal stuff that goes into this responsibility. So just like, wow, there's some context probably here.
Mm-hmm.
Some longevity, some legs that might even be, not just this generation. Might have been passed on or learned behavior or some larger context.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's a little you. Anytime we get into history, there's a little you. So we're just acknowledging the child, that you once were, that the man now is on the shoulders of. It comes out of, probably is a better way to say it. Hello to younger Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, when I see younger me, I think there is a sense of the innocence and just trying to understand the world that he has come into being. And as you were sharing earlier, just through the pandemic and through just so much that has been coming up in this world, I think part of what I'm coming to terms with is my kind of historical or my my collective story. I'm a child of immigrant parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, some of the immigrant story of the sacrifice of coming to America, of like creating a new pathway for me to have a different life than the hard life that they've had.
Yep.
And I am Chinese from Taiwan, and some of the sacrifice of them coming here is also, for me, I think the fallout is not having I still have ties to my cultural roots, but my connections to my heritage is just different than my parents is different
Hmm.
from. And I think when it comes to existential, one of the things I've been wrestling with is like what's meaningful for me right now. There are things that are very cultural, for example, Lunar New Year or the the full moon festival or things that are very like tied to my cultural heritage. I don't have much meaning of it in it. And so yeah, so I think one of the things I'm exploring and trying to and desire is to find meaning in rituals, find meanings in celebration, find meanings in what feels significant for me right now. But also feel the loss that things that I want to be meaningful for me don't really have much meaning right now.
Yeah.
So there's that disconnection to that and wanting to reclaim that. Um, so there is like a identity question, existential identity question. Who am I? Like, yeah,
Mm.
am I supposed to like celebrate like Lunar New Year? Am I supposed to get excited? Of course I want to, but I don't get excited. So what does that mean? And then what does that mean for what I want to offer for my kids? Because I would love
Mm.
for them to be connected to their roots. But my connection to my roots is different, and their connection to their roots is different, and my
Yeah.
parents' connection. And so you could feel the kind of the generational
Mm.
kind of departing from like, what was. But not to put any judgment on it, it's different, and we hold different cultural pieces. I hold different cultural pieces in me as well.
It
But
sounds just a pragmatism, that just the reality of the situation. Do you have two kids? How many
I
kids?
have two kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so much you've
Mhm.
brought. So I'm just going to step us back to where we started, which was meeting your child, and then boom, 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 right? So,
Mhm.
wow, good job, child. What led? So, first off, innocence, just an honoring. Again, for me, the quick way is just a bow. Not that it has to be quick. We could spend lots of time here, but just a respect. Absolutely, children are innocent. So you and the child, this case, also the universal child, just to innocence, the innocence of kids who come into contexts and situations and historical movements and all this, right? And a family dynamics. Hello, hello, innocence. You're so welcome. Also, when you're speaking it, there's a concept that we do in shifting the power. One of the parts often, the type of child, it's a noble child, right? So this responsibility stuff is very noble. Um, so I would offer the qualifier of yes, innocent, and also a noble quality to your child. That's a wonderful quality. They take on a lot and it has its ramifications and stuff. It's really beautiful, that a
Mhm.
child is so noble that wants to assist in that way. And then we immediately go. What showed itself was your heritage. Chinese from Taiwan. Wow, Taiwan's a big one in our current context too, right? Yeah. So it's not just historical; it's also really present and question marks about the future.
Mhm.
So, so a deep respect or bow to Taiwan, and then to your lineage's sacrifice. Yes, there might be other complications and stuff with parents and the immigration and the migration, but there is a sacrifice, and there's a respect and honoring to bring to the sacrifice, and the new pathways and the hard lives. That's legit. So lots of respect there. And it begets, with the rich heritage, and you're sorting out through all of that in the here and now, what is meaningful for you? Underline on the meaningful. And this longing, this beautiful longing, has shown itself. Another way is like vision. I'm a coach. I do a lot of visioning, right? So meaning would definitely be right smack on your vision board, right on your what I call a magnetism map. It's an essence for you. It's very a quality or a state that's very important, a value even. So meaning is a big deal. And not only for you, this meaning and the whole existential identity question, but also for your children, being a father. Wow. That's big. And look, what also is here is loss. So in the pursuit or the sorting out of the longing and that materializing, it comes with loss. Package deal. That's significant. So just kind of bringing our presence, I can feel my heart really soft and wanting to be really tender, right? And gentle to go, oh, hello, loss. You are here. It's legit in that word, just being there and staring back at you, right? To really affirm this has loss. That's a big deal. That's very tender and vulnerable, and probably even grief. And with that kind of stuff, with loss and with grief, that's deep.
Yeah.
And my wonderful Pamela, one of my non-dual teachers, she often uses the analogy of the ocean, right? And you kind of swim on down. All you can do is kind of be there in the sandy bottom, with the loss. Maybe stretch out there a little bit. It's nothing to do but to be. So just coming into connection with loss and just being with it.
Yeah, I think what comes up with that is like accepting the present. Like, I with some of the loss, but then I think when I look at loss, I look at what's hard to be able to sit and having time to grieve or find meaning and imagination. I think the tension is then to the responsibility for self and others that just keeps you needing to just keep moving or keep hunkering down. So I think what comes up is the accepting.
This is your doer.
Yeah,
one way to reference it, right? And absolutely, doers are connected to responsibility and the mind and everything too. And see how it's also, even in this moment where you actually finally have a moment for somebody else to hold space for you, the keep moving. We can't go there because we have responsibilities and stuff and we have to keep moving. So deep bow to the doer, because it's in parts work, right? That too is an incredible protector. And allows you to function, and you're a provider protector in your father role, many other things too, but with the doer, right, it's very significant what men carry and fathers carry. And so the honor, talk about noble again, right, to kind of put aside your own stuff to keep moving. And there's loss and grief here too that we're meeting. So it's yes, just saying yes and, doesn't have to be either or, it's yes and, all at the same time. And we're just going to reassure the doer, don't worry, we're not trying to get rid of you. We want you to be practical. We want you to function. You know, that can, yes, please, keep going. And there's loss and grief and existential stuff going on. Yes, and both. And thank you, doer, for allowing, you know, some space for the heart and for the belly. Because ultimately they're a team. Doer sometimes doesn't recognize that or carries so much that it's kind of a little noisy. So now we're kind of swim on down. Oh, hello, heart, you're here too. And then even embodying more, right? Belly drops it right down. That's that bottom of the sea stuff. Oh, wow, you're here too. How does doer respond? Can it, as it's listening to me and the mind, how does it feel about me pointing out that there's heart and belly here too? Other kinds of intelligences. Also, because the doer is working so darn hard, it might also be good news for it to realize you actually have some buddies, doer and mind. It's not just all on you. You can actually share the responsibility with heart and with belly. Now that was a lot, so just tell me how that lands.
Yeah, I think maybe another part that comes up is the one that resists the doer, the one that resists the one that wants to grieve and you
Yeah,
know, I think it's the part that just wants to dissociate, that just wants relief from everything that's hard to bear.
yeah.
So there's a part that just doesn't do anything.
Escapee. The other part
Escaping.
type has showed up, an escapee. So now doesn't want to do anything. Yeah. So there's the flip side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get that down. And just welcome, because how awesome, because and escapees often carry a lot of shame. Which for us doers in the world, for our understandable escapee behaviors, because we can't always just do. The system needs a break, right? And so we just welcome and give respect to everything. So a deep bow and acknowledgement to escapee, because escapee is a protector too.
Yep.
So these protectors are working overtime here. We've got this type, the doer, he's a controller type. And then this type is the escapee, the don't do, right? And then over here, of course, we have the child, which is often an exile, right? So the innocence in terms of its quality. So the cast of characters is showing itself nicely here in terms of the part slayers.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be thrilled with them, understandably, but but they're showing themselves, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And natural, and then to this polarity, right? Because the man, it's tough when you've got understandable natural stuff here to grieve, that you can't fully go through your grief process because the doer is like, it gets uncomfortable. And then if you do too much, then the escapee has to kick in at times, or a whole lot, whatever's happening. So, hey, all of you, you are welcome. Thank you for showing yourselves, explaining the dynamic a little further. And there's that compassion again, I feel. The heart's just like, how tough. What a challenging situation to have a doer and grief and loss that needs to be met and processed and can't fully because the doer is so uncomfortable with that kind of stuff. Probably a big fear too that you would just collapse, right? And you wouldn't be able to keep it all together to do the various responsibilities. It's a lot.
The byproduct of this is I have a tired mind, a tired heart, and a tired
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. Okay, good. So let's agree with that. How could you not be tired in a dynamic like this? So thank you that they've pointed out the tiredness. And I'm also going to just get the body drawn here, the whole system here. Okay, so this is head. Head also, mind comes with a set of hands. That's the doer too, right? We'll get your hands in here. And of course, doing happens in lots of ways. There's the doer with the quick hands and the heart and the belly. So just hello, all three, all of you, the body, the system at large. And you're right. All of them are tired. Understandably so. So we're just going to respectfully and authentically coo at them because they're tired. And yeah, are you ready to rest? Rest. You all have been working so hard. It's okay. Rest. Sometimes when they get so tired, they're actually open to like, wow, maybe there's a different way that we could do this, or man, we're so exhausted, we do need to rest. So how do they respond when we're like, it's okay, you can rest? There might be yeah buts. We'll deal with that. Or some of it partial. You might get some partial relaxing that happens, some softening when they're like, ooh, oh, good news. We can actually rest.
Yeah, I think that the cycle then goes to what does true rest look like? And then
Yeah,
that's the existential question where like, rest isn't just sleeping, isn't just
right.
taking a vacation, because that sometimes doesn't actually create rest. It creates more, um, it feels more the escapee. So like true rest. And I think that goes to then the child. Like the child just wants to be able to play. The child just wants to enjoy life. So the deeper questions like what does true rest and like enjoying life look like right now for me?
I'm going to
So
bring
that's
up
kind of the
another sheet
wraparound.
because we need to go there. And I need some more room here. So we can come back to this, but we're just going to zip over to another sheet here and add all that. Comes the next layer and a very legitimate, amazing question. So what the heck is rest, right? And how are we defining this? And, is it allowable, etc. So just agreeing with all of that. And we're just meeting this whole concept of rest and the questions about it. It's legitimate. You're right. We don't know, right? And because it's been such a historical pattern and conditioning for you, there's not a lot of reference point for you. And that's compassion too. Like, oh, like, wow, that you've been going since a little kid. And then also there's migration, right? There's immigration in here. So there's movement in the larger genetic and everything too. So there is not, rest does not come naturally to you or to your lineage. And there's a longing also, the flip of it, even though there's questions, there is a longing here. There's a longing for meaning, and somehow this step of understanding rest is part of all that. It's up for you. And so we're meeting it. Oh, hello, rest. Wow. Somehow I got to figure this out to get to this meaning around this existential stuff. And how do you get to something that you're not familiar with and you never really had modeled for you? That is the dilemma. So let me know what's going on. And then my impulse is also to suggest, let's just mosey on up to rest. The only way to get familiar with something is like to go meet it, right? So you could kind of just bring your consciousness up to rest to just say, oh, hello. Like, I don't really know you. And I kind of want to get to know you. Maybe not fully in a dysfunctional kind of way where I completely check out or lose my pragmatism in my doing. But hey, I'm Lee. Nice to meet you. And anything you notice as that happens.
I think I coincide rest with just a feeling when my nervous system gets to come down,
Yeah.
and I'm just being, I just enjoy. And
Ooh,
I think a lot of what comes up around rest is like I want to rediscover or find joy again in life.
yes, please.
Because when you have joy, then you can actually rest and you can actually play, you can move, you can do a lot of active things, but it comes out of a restful source rather than a like a striving doing
Yeah.
source. So,
Beautiful.
joy is definitely very connected to this, and I think joy is then connected to meaning, right? And then when you don't have meaning, then it's work, and then work is
Mm-hmm.
fine, but work that actually doesn't feel connected to joy.
Drudgery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Such wisdom. So, wow, what just fell out there. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Profound, right? So, you're right. Not just restful source. The nervous system really comes down, right? That calibration and that reconfiguring. And that wouldn't it be nice if that there's this restful source that you can establish and connect to? And out of
Here's
that
where
restful source, there comes the joy and the play.
mhm.
So we're just inviting
Here's
because you're sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Go
No,
ahead.
you go first because you're leading.
Here's where the critic comes
Mm,
in. Uh, like the critic is saying is like it feels too idealistic to just
ah,
that you can experience that because there are realities of like back to responsibility. There are real keen things that you have to work on. I think for me right now, I have aging parents to take care of. I have,
ah,
you know,
yep.
older kids that actually need a little bit more guidance and provisions and next things. I have an aging body that
Mm,
would really want to play, but there's so much so much of the body that you just have to accept you can't play the way you used to want to play. And there's actually a lot of like to even get to the point of joy play, you gotta care for the aging body. And then so then it goes back to responsibility. So it gets really convoluted. It's really hard to stay in the moment of imagining joy play rest because the the realities of life kind of bog everything down again.
yep. Just getting it all down. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And so the critic, and we could also, like doubts shown up. This is also feels like the mind in terms of its criticism and
Hmm.
analysis, right? And
Hmm.
so we're just welcoming, oh, there you are again. And you've given us more refinement. You're right. It's saying this is too idealistic. You can't experience that. You come on, you've got aging parents, you've got older kids, you've got an aging body, right? And all this convoluted stuff comes in. Boy, that's a downer. That's a bummer. That takes the kibosh to that lovely joy and play that was starting to show up. Now, good news is we can get some second opinions. So let's go ask the heart and ask the belly, because mind's endure has given us its take. So as you bring your consciousness a little bit deeper down, let's start with the heart. What's your take on it, heart? We just heard from mind.
I think the heart probably still feels a lot of grief. Um,
Yeah.
it's been a stage of life where, heart really longs for connections with people, but with a lot of just facts of life, like friendships aren't as connected as it used to be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Connection to community is complex. It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think the heart actually feels the heaviness of what it wants.
Yeah. You said grief right off the bat.
Yeah, right.
And it's longing for connections, and some of those connections are tricky, right? So it's not an
Mhm.
easy thing. To meet it probably adds to its grief. So, thank you, heart. Thank you for weighing in and giving your perspective. That's its take on it. Now, I'm going to invite just a little bit deeper. So, traveling down to belly and just the larger, deeper, lower um, aspects of our consciousness, right? Hi, belly, you're here too. Not sure how familiar you are of coming down here, but you're just, hey, I'd really like to get your take. I've heard from mind, I've heard from heart. How is it for you? And anything you receive back, communication wise, sometimes it comes in interesting ways, right? From the belly, because it has its own intelligence too.
I think often, often if I kind of access that part, it
Might
it
even put your
feels.
hands on your belly if
Mhm.
because that can help. Because when you tell me think, you're thinking. Mine's
Yeah,
telling me, yeah,
sure, sure. I literally feel knots in my belly.
okay, there's a
So
report. Yeah,
yeah, so I think the gut
yeah,
feels
that's a
knotted.
good way to put it. Gut's another term I'll put too for you, gut. Oh, yo, yo. So, hello, knots. Wow. Hello, gut. Oh, my goodness. And, you're in knots. So sorry. See what happens as we come meet with it, right? That's significant. It's in knots. And just really, you're doing it, you're being it right now, right? Being present with the belly, with the knots. No rush. And the mind might bop up and other ones get in, but just kind of keep bringing it back just to the gut. And it's okay if anything else happens. Let me know. We'll go with that if it does.
The only word that connects to what my gut feels is keep waiting, keep discerning, or
I could see rocking happening too. So that's yeah. And keep what? Keep waiting?
wait, waiting. Yeah,
Waiting.
because clarity hasn't unfolded yet. So
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Yeah.
the knots
So
need to do its work.
interesting. So something's processing as we go left to right, right? That's the like EMDR, how things go
Hmm.
back, forth, right? So
Yeah.
that's good. That's a good sign. So we're just like being with the swaying and it's sorting it out in a non mental kind of way, right? Just through this movement and what wisdom. Hey, we don't have clarity right now. We're doing this thing. right? We're processing it. We're going this side, that side. And that's significant. I mean, there's whole processing modalities built around this sway, whether it's through the eyes or the knees or, different sides of the brain are processing. So good job swaying. And the weighting, because it's not done processing this way, right? Which is different from the mind's computation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. We're not clear right now. We're not clear. And it's processing. It's going each side, the logical and the rational, linear, and then the creative and the feeling, the intuitive, right? Both sides are crunching it. And just checking as belly and has come in, as guts come in, you see anything happening with heart or mind, any responses or reactions to them? Because my guess is gut doesn't really enter into the equation very much, right? Same as heart. So bringing these two is big. So I'm just kind of curious about what's happening for the three of them, as each of them have spoken in their own particular language.
I think that's kind of probably, if I sum it, integrated it all, that's the feeling of back to asking the kind of existential questions, and like there's a restlessness of staying in suspension of all that.
Yep.
But then there's a part of the mind that wants to like, this waiting is like, I'm too restless. Let's do something. Or the heart is like, stop doing things. You gotta just let things be. But then the gut is saying like, you have to integrate. So there's a restlessness that I think.
Yeah, we'll agree with that, because it's true. And here's the big polarity again, right? So there's that, the doing and the restless, and then there's no suspending, right? Being in the midst of this percolating, right? That's happening, that's going on with the gut and these knots, and they're working their way out, and the being. So just agreeing, you're right, mind. Yeah, it definitely makes you restless, understandably so. There's no judgment, right? Because it's a very different language, right? It's a very different thing, this being, and things being suspended, it not being instantly clear, or you not being fully through the existential angst, right? That takes a bit, right? It takes some processing time. Let's I'm going to try something, and let's see how it happens. But since the doer and the restlessness, right, that's been occupying a lot of space, understandably, and we can just, hey, rest. We're not telling you to get rid of it all, but there's an invitation for it to just rest, because it's so darn tired. So chances are it may be okay to rest a little bit. It can still keep thinking and doing. We're not going to, maybe just like some animals can, when they sleep, they shut one eye, but they keep one open. They have that incredible opportunity. We can say that to your mind. Hey, you don't have to shut both eyes. You can just shut one and get some partial rest, and then still keep all your, checking everything out and ability to do. That would be progress, right? So see if it's okay with that. It seems like it was like, oh, what a great idea. We could have both. So some partial rest, yay. Yeah. And then with this, that's starting to show up, the heart, the heart, all it can do with grief is just be, right? So it's being with that grief. And then belly, this being, that's exactly what's there down in there. That there's analogies about the mountain strength, right? Because the mountain has that base. Don't know if you're into yoga, some of the yoga poses, right? You got mountain pose. So that pyramidal thing with the base down there in the gut, with that being, just being like a mountain being there. Now that's a little it has less space because the mind and the doer has been occupying so much space. But now that it's gone to partial rest, that leaves a little room. So we can go real quick to, hey, gut, hey, belly, you could stretch out a little bit because mind's gone to partial rest. So there's now some room for you. So we're just inviting that suspension and that beingness to like expand a little. If it receives the invitation, it will move in its own way. You might feel it. You'll probably feel it in your somatic. And you can let me know. Just pointers can be, hey, you can rise up, you can expand out, you could root down and kind of stretch out a little more, inhabit a little more, or as it likes. So anything you notice, as we've pointed out to it, psst, here's your opportunity. One eye is shut on that mind and doer, so that'll leave some space for you to come in as part of the team here to help out and support and hold up that hard-working mind and doer, working together.
Yeah, nothing's really coming to mind right now.
Well, good. That's good, because it shouldn't be coming to mind. So go down lower and let's see with belly, how's it, did it respond to that invitation to stretch out? Hey, you can stretch out. You can occupy more.
Still feels the knots.
Okay, then we just be with knots. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So go to the knots, and that same thing we might be able to suggest to the knots. Hey, there's a little more space. You can actually occupy a little more if you'd like. You can stretch out a little bit. There's room for you. Mind has graciously gone to rest, at least partially. So that's actually room for you, sweet knots. Oh, we're just going to be with you. There's no push to make you move in a way you don't want to move. And anything you notice with the knots.
I think it feels connected to the waiting. It needs the space to unwind on
Yes,
its own.
exactly.
Yeah.
Great. And so you've got space. There's a little space here by all means, and it's going to be a process. And we don't expect you to completely unknot yourself right now, but just checking to see if you can see, hey, right now there's a little space here. And hopefully this, even after we wrap up, right, part of that mind can just get that shut-eye that it needs. The other one's there so you can function, right? It's still doing its thing. But hey, knots, we've created a little space for you. And this is here for you to stretch into and unfold at your own pace. No rush. Lots of time here. It's going to require time. It's not going to happen in one red hot minute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Understandably. Existential needs a lot of room. Now, how did it receive that? Was there any yeah, but from it or anything you noticed?
I think the word that keeps coming up is there's a longing to feel anchored.
Ooh, anchored. Yes, please. Yeah. Yeah. And even if it's just a longing, that's good because it's on the yes, please for anchoring. That's totally gut and belly territory language. Yeah. Yeah, anchoring. Woohoo, you are welcome here. Yes, please. And even if it's not fully here, even if it's just in a longing, longings are very, very powerful. That's how everything gets created with that vision, you know. So your gut here has a vision, you know. It's longing. It's anchoring is on the horizon. Anchoring is desired. Yes, please. And eventually, who knows? It may be that these knots they unravel, as you were saying, and they actually anchor.
Mhm.
I'm just going to draw since we've been using that analogy of mountain, right? So, yeah, they're just anchoring right in. So you're anchored in the energetic field as I'm drawing this out, right? This is the suggestion, invitation here. What it said it. We're longing for anchoring. Wow, awesome. Brilliant. Isn't that what's so needed? It can really anchor the heart with its grief and this miraculous mind up here and doer. And this beingness can anchor it. Lots of space. Yes, please. Yes, please. Wouldn't that be nice? And it's okay. This is going to be very unfamiliar to begin with. Going to be a process, going to take some time. But there's a longing to have this appear, right? Have this solidify. Life orients around this. Go through life anchored with that stable base, restful source. In fact, I'm going to write restful source down here because that's such a great description. Yes, please. In fact, mind actually did it halfway. It went to restful source, one of those eyes.
Mm.
And this can really hold the heart in its grief too, right?
I think the last image I have is back to the first picture of the concentric circles. It's when you drop a rock into a pond, like you have all
Oh,
these concentric circles, and the questions, you know, life, what's the meaning? The concentric circles could get so broad and wide and expansive that's too overwhelming.
yeah,
The rock kind of drops to the bottom, and when you finally
yeah,
have a bottom, then that's the anchoring. Like you're not dropping a rock into the abyss where it just never lands, but it needs to land.
right. So landing on that firm bottom underneath. Yes,
Mhm.
wow. Beautiful communication from it in that metaphor. So much in that metaphor. So just yes, please to that. That those concentric blue circles, right, is just a quick way to represent what you're explaining. Of course, you're feeling it inside there. So, man, do we like that? Yes, please. Thank you for the communication. Brilliant. The gut is just really communicating. Just like that. You're right. Concentric circles out, down to that firm bottom under there to hold it all. A different feeling place, right? And to the mind, the half that's awake, the other half's already down there. It gets that. The mind even gets it because it did that exactly. It dropped right down like a rock down to the bottom of the pond there or ocean, whatever that sandy bottom. It's already done it. And then maybe they can take turns. When that one gets its rest, right? It'll come open its eye, and then the other eye can close and it can have its time down there in the bottom. Right? And kind of rotate, right? Because it's okay. One will probably be always operating because you have, multiple things to do in the world. But it can keep going to that restful source that anchors you, that brings support to the heart, too, the heart and the mind. Yeah, gut is amazing, right? What it's tapped into. So no rush, we're just being with this. I'm getting delicious parallel processing, can just really piggyback on what you're bringing here. And boy, does it soothe the nervous system. And still practical, still able to function in the world. That's still going on. But this too. Yes, and. Good idea. Good idea. Maybe eventually a new normal here of this being connected instead of the way it's historically been for you. No rush. This is like no pressure. And just your report, anything you notice. And this is your being. You might not even be able to talk it because it's a being thing. I can just kind of see from your expressions, different energetic going on. Good news. So more of this, please. Yes, Anne. This being in the equation too. This restful source anchoring.
Yeah, nothing big, just appreciating the colors, the gray, the somewhat brown, earth, right? That grounds you. Yeah, so something appealing by that on that color right now.
Yeah, these things, I mean, the map is not the territory. The territory is right inside you, and it's so hard to articulate these things, right? The drawings will be a little pointer to them. The real show's over there in your energetic field, but these can be helpful for tracking and mirroring and even remembering, right? Because you'll have these documents that you can refer to. And hopefully, if I've done my job well enough here, right, these are adequate enough to summon up the somatic, the memory. Yeah.
For sure.
And maybe just some thanks to your three intelligences because they've all shown up in their unique ways. First off to mind, right? Because that's been the intelligence mind doer that's been so predominant. So thankfully it got some partial rest and can continue to do that and maybe alternate, with the eyes and stuff back and forth. And then heart showed up too, very strongly, to communicate, hey, there's sadness here, there's grief and loss here. And that tenderness, right? And then, man, did gut show up. to be able to support the other two, right? Support you at large. And that is a unfolding process. So giving it space. It's not all mind stuff. We can't just natter at it about words here. It's feeling stuff, somatic stuff, and you're experiencing it right now, and that will continue to unfold. Yes, please. So thanking the three minds, heart, and gut. You got a team here. It's not just all on mind.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to the whole team. And especially, you know, that it's embedded in restful source. And you can anchor into that restful source to support you in that magnificent provider, doer, protecting all that wonderful masculine in the world that you do. In your family and in your work. And the heart also has some, to the doer that is awake, hey, heart is saying there's a longing here for connection. So doer, you might want to do some things around friendship and around community, even though it's complex. Because the heart needs that, and that's going to help with the anchoring too. Mm-hmm. So mind and doer can get on that, right? Because there's some practicalities around that. I'm a coach, so this falls into action plan territory, you know? Yeah. So, and the doer likes to do things. So it's like, hey, you could provide this wonderful man some further connections, right? So in friendship and community, which will help with the heart and also help you mind with your doing. Because it's great to have other people around, right? Who help and support each other as they go through the big existential crises in life. And we're in one at large in the world. Yeah. So just see if mine got that. Mine, did you get the sticky note I'm passing to you?
Yeah.
It might not know how to fully go about it all, but just I'm kind of like ding, ding, ding. That's an important one, mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give this one a quick save. And then I'm going to ask you for a title, knowing that it's not all, you know, tickety-boo complete here, but man, we covered some amazing territory. So if I flash up here, right? We started here. And then we've got your second one. So quite the journey. What an honor to meet you and hold space and draw this out, and the parallel processing for myself and anybody else who will be observing. Generous, very generous. I'm just going to get the trail in here too. And this is where it comes, right here. So with this journey of the maps, I have space at the top, and I'll put a title. So we could ask the mind, the heart, the gut. We'll see who wants to, maybe in combination they come up with it, but what's the title? If you're to put a title on this map. Yeah.
Pathway Back to Self.
Wow. Yes, please. What a great title. Okay. I love it. I love doing the titles.
Yeah,
See what comes out. Yeah, it's powerful.
sure.
That is a powerful title. Pathway
Hmm.
back to self. Yes, please. What a wonderful summation. Now I will do various things. I'll do a little puttering basically, right? So I'll do a little more coloring or whatever on this. So the aesthetic will be a little more developed by the time I send it to you. But I will send you these maps so
Thank
you
you.
have them and they
Yeah.
stare back at you and they're a little
Hmm.
memory device to evoke, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Evoke those same feelings and memories of it. Yeah. The
yeah.
processing.
Yeah, and it's normal because we'll go back to our habitual conditioning stuff. Sometimes, boom, right? This definitely has some good stuff has happened here, right? So the ripple effect, back to the ripple in the pond, the ripple effect we'll see. The proof is in the pudding in your life. And so something
Hmm.
has shifted and reconfigured here that will bear out. Sometimes
Hmm.
there's a big kaboom. People get lucky that way. And other times, it's okay. You may find yourself, oh yeah, I'm back in it. I'm back in my do whatever. And that's why the maps and stuff can be handy, because when you have a big realization like this, like you did, um, you know, if you do fall out of it, which we tend to return back to some extent to that habitual conditioning, that's okay. You just sweetly like, oh yeah, right, right, space. It's yes and it's not just mind doer, but I got the heart in here and I got the gut in here. And I've got that magnificent restful source that can hold me too.
Hmm.
And ideally, those take action steps have happened too, where there's um, more friendship in your life and more community that also, human beings really benefit from.
Hmm.
Yeah. So to be continued.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate that. It's it just syncs well with like what I already, how I practice also, just a sense of like, we have different sources of wisdom and we have to listen to all the different sources at the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we can bring in the teamness of that they're a wonderful team, and that
Hmm.
hardworking mind doer, isn't just left on its own carrying everything. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm glad it matches with your ways that you process and connect and probably work too. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Well, I'll turn off and we may say some other final things after I turn off the recording, but thank you for coming. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
open
Yeah.
to working. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the process and the promptings too, and the space. It's really
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. It's my honor to hold space for you. I know you
Mhm.
hold so much for others. So, yay.
Yeah.
And to be continued.
To be
Yeah.
continued.
All the
Yeah.
best with
Thank
the
you.
unfoldment. Okay.